everybody, welcome back to the shop here at Tusa Acres. I spent the last couple days working on these knives, getting them all cleaned up and polished. I did some flame tinting or flame coloring or oxidizing, whatever we want to call it. And I really like how they turned out. You can see now I have what looks square in there, and it is. It's a square debris collar. And it took a little finagling, and I got a small section here I'll show you on how I did that. I had a viewer, really great idea, by the way. The round debris collar, as it's sliding in there, if debris does get in there, now there's a wedge area on both sides of the round debris collar. And he said, hey, why don't you just make a square one? That way it kind of, shovels stuff back and forth, pushes it, bulldozes it, so that stuff literally just can't get caught in there. Oh man, that's pretty. Compare that to the color it was. That's exactly what I was looking for. Oh yeah. Oh man, that's pretty. That's the difference in color. So I actually did put a full polish on these. I rounded all of the edges, the insides of every opening. Same thing with all the triangles. The insides are now nice and soft. I didn't worry about the back side. I did smooth this side a little bit for where the bottom button glides. Makes cool shits, puts it on the interweb. Wow, that is freaking cool. All right, so I'm not sure why this is happening now, but when I go to put the blade in, it's getting stuck right where the bottom button starts to go in between there. So I've already sanded down the bottom of the button, and I also rounded off the edges on this one like I did the big one, to get a little bit of a concave shape to it, or convex, depending on which way you're looking at it. And then another quick little sanding just on the edge here. Once the blade is in and the button's on and it's pushed past that first latch, it seems to slide just fine. I'm only hitting the insides right now because I don't want to change the dimensions. And it's not much. I can push it through. It's just, it hangs up there and you really got to jam it in there. And if you're going to reset your spring, do that now. I push it in so it's just ever so slightly offset to the inside of the scale. And this is where the issues have been coming up. Those guys right there, that button is pushing the blade down, which is, the blade is now getting jammed up on there. But once it gets past them first couple, here it slides fine. It's only when it's back here does it grab. Look at that coloring. Man, that's a good looking knife. Nice work, AVE. We'll straw those down, as well as get the screws ground down, as well as fix the spring, as well as turn a new guard here, or debris collar. And that's pretty much it. I'll jump to the 500. All right, so our chores for the day are done outside. Getting back to work here on the knife. This piece right here happens to already be just a couple thou thicker this way than my current spacer is, or debris collar. I'm a total rookie when it comes to lathe and milling, but I've watched enough YouTube, and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express once. So I think I'm gonna be able to make this work. I just got done squaring up my mini mill. All right, so I was less than a thou out running from side to side. So I'm satisfied with that. It should be square enough. Looks pretty square to me. There we go. Well, moment of truth. Let's see if she slides through here. A little snug that way. A little snug that way. Fit that way. Still getting hung up in the middle there. Before I take anything else off of it, I think I'm going to try to knock the scales or the spacers in the top scale down just a smidge. There it is. All right, let's try it. This is the part I'm worried about. Whether or not there's going to be left and right once it's centered on the button enough clearance. Great idea, my man. It is definitely a little more cumbersome to get the blade inserted with this thing, but it's not too bad. Yeah, that to me looks plenty good enough to push dirt, sand, debris out of the way. As far as the spring setup goes for both of them, I had to do a little bit of digging and take myself to school, but according to AVE's Shopify website, which by the way, I did ask him in a comment on his channel if I could post his Shopify link in my description, and he never got back to me. It's only been a couple days and he gets hundreds if not thousands of comments. So rather than stepping on his toes or anything, if you go to his channel, click on any one of his knife videos, there in the description box there is his Shopify where you can go purchase these if you're so inclined. These bodies are made of 304 stainless steel. And 304 stainless steel cannot be heat treated or tempered, because that was my first real idea, was to just take the back scale on each one, heat treat it, temper it. That way our little spring here wouldn't do what it does, because even this one, after I've fiddled with it, is already starting to stick out just slightly. I know it's hard to see, but you can catch a thumbnail on it pretty hard there. So that option was out. As far as the pocket clips go, I didn't really like any of these clips that I have for my purpose. I want to be able to have a big, opening like this right here, and not like that, hold on. More like this, a big open flap. That way it can catch my pocket no problem. So I started thinking, well, what else could I use? And I found some 16th inch 309 TIG wire, but this stuff takes a bend really easy. So, and this is not heat treatable either, at least not by conventional, heat it up, quench it, and then temper it kind of a thing. So I'm gonna get some spring wire, some stainless spring wire, maybe 404. I'm not 100% sure. I'm gonna have to do a little more digging. And then I will fashion my own clip out of this, and I wanna put it right in this opening, and I'll have the wire on the outside here. Then I'll use two of these screws from one of the other pocket clips to hold the wire in place, and it'll be a nice gradual, it's what's called a deep pocket. It'll come up to about here, start here, come up to about here, wrap around, and come back down like that. And so that's my idea for a pocket clip for the bigger one, and you could do it on the back side, the front side, because the center plates here, I don't see any reason why you couldn't drill through those. Well, especially on the front side, that big spacer on the top, there's plenty of meat in there to get some good threads. Going back to the spring real quick, now when I operate it, I just go as far as I have to get the blade to start slipping through there, and I'm just gonna leave it at that point for now. I had an idea of just cutting that guy out, getting a chunk of high carbon spring steel of some sort and tigging it onto this back plate. But I didn't want to do anything that's more than what the average guy could do. Now, with that said, I realize that most of us that got these are probably not average guys. So that's still a possibility down the road. But for now, I got both of the springs to work fine. The small one, I don't know what happened that first time I put it together on the last video. It just out of nowhere started falling all the way back, and I didn't even do anything. But I did the same thing. I bent the spring in just a little bit. Now I only push the spring hard enough to get the button to slide through, or the blade to slide through, and that seems to be working for now. So I'll tackle the spring issue when I need to. With the oxide layer being on the outside, the straw color, it's obviously going to see more wear, and I don't know how long that color is going to stay on there being on the outside. It almost looks like it's starting to come off a little bit in a few spots. So I'll give you an update on that as time goes. I think that this button setup with the square spacer in there, so let me pop this out here. Well, I'll run it through real quick first, because it actually feels more solid now than it did even with the original spring. It has such a solid, crisp feel to it when it pops in, and I think that's just because of the stability of that square spacer or debris collar. But you can see it's a good solid thunk. Each one, it doesn't even get caught up anymore. It lands perfectly straight every time. Slide it forwards, back. It's really, really nice and smooth. And it did take a little finagling to get that just right, because the big spacer here that it rides against on the inside was a little bit bowed, just a smidge, and I was able to just sand that out on a block. You can see what it looks like there. It's just a perfect fit. It is a little trickier to get started, but man, once it's in there, so kind of nifty, I think. I think it worked out really, really well. Again, thanks for that tip there. That great idea. And you know, I'm not going to treat these like polished jewelry. I'm going to use them. You know, yeah, I put a lot of work into sanding and polishing and the finish, but they're tools. So I'm going to use them as such, and I'll give an update on especially with the big one here with the straw color on the outside. We'll see how long that lasts. But that's it for today. Thanks for checking it out, everybody. Please take a second to hit them like and subscribe buttons down below, and we will catch you soon.